Hey there everybody, it's been a little while since I last did a video, sorry about that. So I'm actually doing a pulled pork video. This is my second attempt at it, last one was a little bit too long. So I prepped ahead a little bit. Some of the things that you will need, obviously you'll need some pork shoulder. Now if you're doing this at home, you want a 4 to 5 pound roast. Doing it in the truck, I bought actually like a 6 pound roast and cut it into 3 pieces. So they fit pretty well. At home, you want bone in. In the truck, you could do bone in as well if you want to, but only one of them will actually have the bone in and the rest of them won't. So I prepped this ahead. Olive oil onto the pulled pork along with salt and pepper. About 2 tablespoons of each total will be going onto the pulled pork to make it, about 2 tablespoons of each item. So 2 tablespoons olive oil, 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of pepper will give you the amount that you need for the pulled pork. At home, obviously, and in the truck, about 1/3 of that, just enough to coat it. Okay, now to the ingredients that we're actually going to use. And of course, I put them all on top of my piece of paper. Okay, so that's the prep for the pork. Then we have the juice that we're going to cook it in, and after that, we reduce down the juice after it's done cooking. So, first, the ingredients for the juice, and I forgot to prep ahead with this. That'll do. So one thing that I did in the truck, yes, I have very pretty shorts on today. So, one thing that I found works pretty well in the truck that saves a little bit of time and also a lot of cleanup is I just take an old water bottle, cut the top off of it, and this is a great little mixing bowl that I can just toss out once I'm done. So, my little mixing bowl, and I need a fork. Where did my forks go? There's my fork. And a fork. So, for at home, once again in the truck, we're going to be doing about 1/3 of this. We're going to need apple juice. Now, the recipe actually calls for fresh pressed apple juice, which is what you can find in like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. A little bit harder to find in places where we can get into, like Walmart's, Love's, Flying J's, and Petros. So I'm just using regular Mott's apple juice. Now, if you use the smaller bottles like this, it comes in handy because then it's resealable and you can use it later. It calls for 2 cups for at home. Since we're doing about 1/3, I'm actually going to do about a quarter. Talking about a 1/4 cup. This is about 1 cup, so about half a bottle. So, half a bottle. That's about half a bottle. Half a bottle of apple juice. We're also going to need apple cider vinegar, and this is where the smaller bottles come in handy. The apple cider vinegar, you want the raw form, unfiltered, the whole 9. Now, the form that I was able to find at Walmart is called Bragg. It's a big glass bottle, not something I want in the truck, so I leave the big glass bottle at home, get my apple juice container, and just reuse it. Now, the amount that this calls for is half a cup, so we're going to do about 1/8 of a cup. Okay, that's the apple cider vinegar. That stuff's potent. Want 1 tablespoon of salt and 1 tablespoon of pepper. Now, later on, I'm going to tell you about the nutrition information of this, and there's actually a high sodium content for this. So if you want to remove the salt, either from the rub beforehand or from here, it's okay. We do have stuff that has salt in it that can make up for it. This is going to come out pretty damn tasty anyway. So you don't really need the salt. It's going to be good no matter what. And if you're watching your sodium intake, it's a good idea to remove the salt. So you can remove the salt from the rub. You can remove the salt from this part. Okay. Half a cup of ketchup. So about 1/8 of a cup. Now I'm using organic ketchup. This stuff is what it calls for. I think you can get away with pretty much any ketchup. Now, 1/8 of a cup. If you don't have ketchup on hand, run into the McDonald's, grab a couple packets and throw it in there. That can do the job if you need to. Once again, first number I'm reading off is always the at-home version. Okay, 2 tablespoons of molasses. This stuff is messy. Now, we're going to do 1/8 of that, and there are 3 teaspoons of, 1/4 of that. There are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon, so that comes out to 6. So we're talking about 1.5 teaspoons of molasses is how much we'll do in the truck. Once again, it's 2 tablespoons for at home. and 1.5 teaspoons for in the truck if you're doing exact measurements. Obviously, I'm not. I'm just eyeballing this. Oh, sorry, it's half a tablespoon of molasses. My bad. So it's about, that's 1.5. So about half a teaspoon. Maybe a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on your judgment. Okay, so it is 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. My bad. So this is the one that's about 1.5 teaspoons. So this is where you can get some of your salt. So don't really need to add the salt. It does add a little bit of flavor, but you don't really need it. Okay, 5 garlic cloves chopped, using my pre-chopped garlic cloves that you can find in the spice aisle. So 5 garlic cloves, we're doing about 1/4, so we want about 1 garlic clove chopped. If you're going to do fresh garlic cloves, obviously with that, I would say maybe half a teaspoon, maybe a little bit less. And 2 tablespoons of Dijon. Now this is one ingredient that I'm actually missing. It calls for 2 tablespoons of Dijon. You don't need it, but it does add some nice flavor. I don't have any in the truck. And 2 tablespoons of honey. Once again, that'll come out to about 1.5 teaspoons in the truck. That seems like 1.5, right? Okay. So there's 1.5 teaspoons, and then we just mix it up. Now this is our cooking mixture. Now aside from this, also in the actual pan that we're cooking it in, onions. Now for at home, it calls for 1 whole onion. You just want enough to cover the bottom of your slow cooker. So with me, I'm using about half an onion. It's way more than I need, but it adds some great flavor to it. An alternative option that I actually tested out is I used a pineapple. I coated it with pineapple slices that I actually used from a fresh pineapple or canned. Adds a little bit more tart flavor and a little bit sweeter flavor to the end product, but overall comes out about the same. So you can experiment a little. I was thinking about trying out a peach, trying out an apple itself. This is an apple cider pulled pork. It's smoked Applewood or whatever pulled pork. So now, like I said, I did prep the pork ahead of time with salt, pepper, oil, and olive oil. So that is ready to go already. Just dump it right in there. Toss out the bag. Okay, so we toss it in there, and then we toss our juice in there with it. Now, you want it to come about halfway up onto the slow cooker. You want the juice to be about halfway up the pulled pork itself. You don't want to use too much juice because this takes about 6 hours to do, so you're going to be cooking this while driving if you're in the truck, obviously. It takes about 6 hours to cook. Now, once it's done, you want to pull the meat out itself. Put it on a plate. You can pull it apart with a fork. You can go longer than 6 hours. It's okay. You can go 8, whatever it may be. I wouldn't do a full 14-hour day of cooking, in all honesty. So if you start your day with it, do it about halfway through when you do your half-hour break. If at your half-hour break you want to prep it, by the end of the day it'll be done. Pull it apart. Take it out. Take the juice out of the slow cooker, and I throw it into my lunchbox stove. Throw it into one of those loaf pans, and then you want to add, once again, at-home measurements. It calls for, where's my, okay, 2 cups of the cooking liquid, so 1/4 of that for us, which will be about half a cup of cooking liquid, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 1/4 cup of ketchup. That will add a lot of flavor. Now you want to try to reduce that down. I throw it in my lunchbox stove for about a half an hour. Let that reduce down a little bit and mix up a little bit. And then you throw that juice back in with the pulled pork, and it adds a lot of flavor and juiciness to it. Now with me, I didn't bother with the 2 cups of cooking liquid. I just took all the cooking liquid and let it do it. You want to do this when you're stopped. You do not want to try to do this while you're driving because the juice gets all over the place in the lunchbox stove. So once again, at home, you're going to use like a frying pan or something like that and just reduce it down. It only takes a few minutes. Put the juice in there, add in your half cup of ketchup and your half cup of brown sugar. It adds a lot of flavor to it. Now, I do have nutrition information for once on this. So the nutrition information comes out to, for the whole thing, if you do a 5-pound roast, it's about 4,300 calories. It has 270 carbs, 211 grams of fat, 299 grams of protein, 2,598 milligrams of sodium, and 233 grams of sugar. So what does that come out to for actual usage? If you do a 1/4 pound on this, 1/4 pound servings, that comes out to about 220 calories. So about 1/10 of your daily consumption of calories. Comes out to 13.5 grams of carbs, which is only about 5% of the average person's daily consumption. 10 grams of fat, which is 1/6 of your daily consumption. Your protein is 15 grams, which is about 1/4 of your daily consumption, what it should be at. 1,300 milligrams of sodium. Now this is with all the salt that I've put in there, which is 3 tablespoons plus the Worcestershire sauce. That is half your daily consumption of salt in 1/4 pound serving. And then sugar is 12 grams, which is about, once again, half your daily consumption. So if you're concerned about your salt intake, go ahead and take the salt out of the recipe. You can remove it, it'll drop it way down. Sadly, I don't have those numbers, but it'll drop it way down. And the Worcestershire sauce is already going to have the salt in it. So you can always take that out. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions for me, please ask them. Like I said, I did some variations on this. I tried it out with pineapple. It was pretty tasty. I did not leave the pineapple in the pulled pork. Once I removed it, I just tossed the pineapple chunks. But it is an option that you might want to try and just see how it comes out. So any questions, please send them to me. Any comments, concerns, or if you have anything that you want to see me do, let me know. When I post this on Facebook, I will post photos of the nutrition information that I was able to come up with. Okay? Guys, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.